All right, guys, we have a patch. I recorded a full like 17-20 minute video last night the moment it dropped to go over the patch. I had some nice inside jokes. You know, I looked up stuff on UniDB. I had some very intricate things to say about the patch. And then it turns out I'm not muted right now, right? I was muted the whole time, literally the whole time. So I can't give you guys my first take anymore because I've already read through it, but I still want to go through the patch. Okay, Lapras got some changes. It got some extra bulk on its defenses, which is pretty nice, right? It's like a meaningful amount, it looks like, later in the game. So on a tank character, getting defenses is nice. Lapras, this is the biggest change. So there were two things that made Lapras OP in the past. Two things, okay? One was that its Unite move had an 89-second cooldown, and you could Unite move everywhere around the map. So you would just Unite, farm, Unite, farm, Unite, farm. That was broken. The second thing was that Lapras had a lot of regeneration. So this might look like it's just going from 2 to 3%. It's like, oh, that's a 1% increase. No. If you attend Inder University, you would know to recognize this as a 50% increase, right? It went from 2% healing to 3% max HP healing. Not only that, it's 2% or now 3% per tick. And Lapras's boosted auto does 3 ticks, right? So it's actually, it went from 6% max HP healing to 9% max HP healing on its boosted auto. I don't think UniDB has the updated ones yet. So this is what it was before. 2 per tick times 3. That's a lot of healing, okay? 15% increase on the shield, which is pretty good on Bubble Beam. And then Perish Song damage went up. I haven't played it yet, but I think the best build is going to be Water Pulse Bubble Beam. Even though Water Pulse didn't get a buff, Water Pulse's buff is that like the moment you start the game, you get your free boosted autos. So yeah, I think this is a good change. It won't be back to its pre-nerf stage, but I think it's going to be a lot better. A lot better. Like a playable mon now. And you can play as a defender or as a damage dealer. Both will probably be viable. Okay, so Blissey, Safeguard Helping Hand. I mean, this really depends on who Blissey's partners are. Sure, it'll be nice. Like maybe it'll be viable. I think it could be playable. Mewtwo Y does get buffed, so when we get there, we'll talk about that as well. I'm kind of sad that they buffed this and Mewtwo Y in the same patch, though. But the E-Daters can rise, I guess. All right, Greedent. Belch. This is a pretty big change for Belch. So Belch, it went from being a 15% movement speed slow for 1 second to a 40% slow for 2 seconds, which decays. Now, the thing about this is even at the maximum decayed level, it's still going to be a 10% slow for the last half second, but it's just a big burst of slow now for the first second, which it wasn't before. And they buffed the damage. So what this does, right, is the bigger slow on Belch means that you can hit your second Belch a lot easier, and both of them are going to do more damage. If you're not a Belch enjoyer, at the very least, Bullet Seed got a little bit of a cooldown reduction too. Covet got a 1 second off its cooldown. This is huge, right, because anytime you get like an uptime change on a move, like a long cooldown but long duration, but the cooldown goes down, it means the effective time that Covet is activated for is a lot longer. So this will be fun. We'll definitely check out Green. And then the ult going down, cooldown getting reduced, also really good. Direct buff to all its moves, because the Unite move, when you're in your Unite move, you have unlimited berries, which means that you can reset your Belch much quicker, or you get more damage on your Bullet Seed. Azumarill. The defense changes on Azumarill. It's just special defense, so it'll be slightly better into mages. Very not that meaningful. But it's something. It's something. I think these are the two bigger changes for Azu, though. Again, same thing, same idea with Covet. It's an uptime move where you activate it as a long cooldown, but it stays activated for a while. So that's good. You'll have more uptime on Whirlpool. And then this, I haven't tested it, but the way I understand it is that it's a pretty good buff. Now, if you don't know how Azu's Unite move works, it's like Belly Drum from the normal Pokemon games. You sacrifice some of your HP to gain some attack, but the way they made it in Unite is you sacrifice HP And typically you would get the same amount of HP you sacrificed as a shield. So as long as you were fighting someone and the shield actually got broken, you didn't lose any HP. You didn't go net negative on HP. Now, it seems that, as at least the way that the patch notes read, that you're going to go net positive on HP. And I'll show you guys what I mean by showing you here. So Azu loses 5% HP with each pound in exchange for a 5% max HP shield. The way I understand it's going to work now is you're still going to lose the 5% HP with each pound, but now you're going to get a 6.5% max HP change instead as a shield. So that means it's going to be, you're going to be getting almost 5% extra HP shield on top of what you would normally have gotten. And it has extra bulk and it has some whirlpool. So is it going to be a meta pick? Probably not. But it is going to be, you know, noticeably tankier when you unite, which is nice. What's the change? The thing that I just said, and then I just, what? Did the Unite Club membership change? It's the new month. It's every month, right? It changes. It's a new month now. November started. Glaceon stats. Looks like they gave Glaceon some defenses, not really anything meaningful. It's a glass cannon type of Pokemon, so defenses on a tank Pokemon or an all-rounder are much more meaningful because it gets more effective bulk because it has a higher HP pool and it's more likely to make use of the damage reduction from defenses. For Pokemon like Glaceon, it's a lot less meaningful, especially if the values are this small. It is a good amount of special defense and defense at a higher level, so it might help a little bit in terms of survivability, just a little bit. Icicle Spear, 8% damage, Freeze Dry, 8% damage. I think this is a pretty good buff. Like, Glaceon's a pure damage dealer and they buffed its damage on both builds. These are the two moves that you can't really go together. So if they were gonna do Glaceon buffs, I think this is where the Glaceon buff should have been. Like, I don't think they should buff its base stats. I don't think they should buff Ice Shard or Icy Wind. These two abilities are like the weaker ones of their respective movesets, right? In Icicle Spear, Ice Shard is the thing that's really strong. Icicle Spear is a point and click damage move that all its only job is to do damage. So that, you know, that makes sense. And then Icy Wind, Freeze Dry isn't really something used for the direct damage. Use it for the damage buff to give to Icy Wind. So making this move more meaningful, it's a good change. I think, you know, Glaceon definitely will be an annoying Pokemon as it always has been, but unless they completely rework the Pokemon, it deserves some buffs. All right, Espeon. So Espeon got some stat changes, pretty much just almost identical to what Glaceon got, similar kind of idea, but instead Espeon got 10% damage increase. So they kind of did the same thing with Espeon, where the Espeon has, like, you know, two moves that you normally wouldn't play together. And it's more or less just a damage dealer. Espeon has a little bit more utility and they buffed the damage. I don't think you would still want to do this moveset. Like, it's a good buff if you want to play Future Sight, Sword Power, and a good buff if you want to play Psyshock, Psybeam. I don't think these two will be good together, but if both of them got a 10% increase, it's worth trying out. So I'm interested in checking this out for sure. Gardevoir, so it's definitely like an attacker heavy patch, which I think is good. I think attackers kind of were lacking and they help. I think attackers being strong is good because speedsters counter attackers. And then, you know, if speedsters become a problem, then all the all-rounders that already exist can keep them in check. But the attackers being bad just meant that all the all-rounders got to be OP for too long. So so far, I like the direction of the patch. Gardevoir, I think Guard is the one that got the biggest buffs though. I think Gardevoir got the biggest amount of buffs. Out of the attackers at the very least. The bulk is whatever, right? Similar to Glaceon and Espeon. This is the biggest part. Special defense reduction went from 20% to 25%. Now, a couple things here, right? This isn't just a normal 5% increase, right? This is 5 points of increase, but Inder University math will tell you that this is what, like a 20+% increase, right? Like 25% increase almost. And not only that, Psychic doesn't do 20% or 25% reduction. This actually stacks up to 3 times. So in the past, Gardevoir would go up to 60% total damage, special defense reduction, which I can show you here, right? Each time Psychic deals damage, it reduces by 20% up to 60. Now, it's gonna, unless they keep the cap the same, which would be weird, it should go all the way up to 75%. Which means that it's going to be similar to the amount of reduction you would get from Hyper Voice on Sylveon, on a character that does a lot of damage and a character who already got its damage increased. So Gardevoir is going to be like the go-to tank shredder Pokemon for special attackers now. I really do think this is a big damage change for Gardevoir. We'll see if Gardevoir is viable and competitive, because it is going to be, it's still vulnerable to a lot of speedsters, obviously. But in a balanced team comp, you can make it work. I would still say Spoon is a good item. You don't need to completely discount Spoon on Gardevoir, but I think with this change, if you want to play Cursed Incense, Spoon might be viable to drop. But it's not to say that Spoon isn't going to work, because the defense reduction from special defense reduction from Psychic and the special defense reduction from Spoon aren't additive. So it's not 75 plus 18, which means that you don't need it. I think that the changes, I don't remember exactly how they work, but I think it does this set first, and then the remaining gets multiplied by Spoon, or the other way around. So it would still be valuable for you to keep that on, for sure. I know that because if you played Hyper Voice Sylveon, you would still want to run Spoon. Also, there's a lot of other things that go into play. If the target full heals, they're gonna cleanse this debuff off of them, so they're not gonna have the reduction. If they don't have all Psychic ticks on them, even when they do, Spoon will still be valuable. So you should still be playing Spoon, in my opinion. But I think it'll be less egregious to take it off now, if you want to add a more utility-based item, maybe like Amp, maybe like, maybe Spoon. Yeah, if they're multiplicative, the order shouldn't matter. That's right. Okay, moving on. Mewtwo Y, basic attack speed goes up. This is a scary change, right? This is a character that I'm most afraid of in terms of them tweaking it, because I think Mewtwo Y was in the healthy spot literally yesterday. I played a game on it yesterday. I was like, okay, this one feels fine. Like, it doesn't feel broken. It didn't feel broken before the patch, but it also didn't feel like it was horrible, right? So attack speed is like a really scary number to tweak around with. So we'll see, especially with Helping Hand. Another thing that people didn't do in the past that they will definitely be doing now is playing Mewtwo Y with Mew XP share. And then you just start coaching the Mewtwo Y, give it more attack speed from there. Helping Hand. X attack is still very playable on this Pokemon. I don't know. It's going to be scary. And then they buffed Future Sight. They gave it a bigger slow and a lower cooldown. 1.5 seconds off of this is pretty huge. Recover got some pretty sizable buffs. 50% increase on the healing before the plus upgrade. 1 more second off the cooldown, and then obviously the plus upgrade got buffed too. So basically the new Recover is better than previous patches Recover Plus. So yeah, I'm not really excited about this one. And then Teleport. I think people are still gonna be playing Teleport, which also got a second taken off of it. Yeah, I don't know. This Pokemon definitely seems like it's going to be kind of scary now. Zacian. So Zacian got some Sacred Sword nerfs. This, I think, is like this is a saving grace for North America, Europe, and the rest of the Western regions, because they all suck at Zacian. But the Japanese teams and the Eastern teams are way better at Zacian. Like, they basically could have said, in high rank matches in Japan and Southeast Asia, Sacred Sword has significantly increased Zacian's win rate. Consequently, its overall effectiveness has been reduced. Like, most of the NA Zacians are just not good enough at it. So good for them. Doesn't matter though. Zacian is still going to be really broken. One of the things that makes Zacian really strong and competitive is that it just can't lose its lane, right? You pair it with a range supporter, it's going to hold down your lane. And as long as the Zacian player doesn't int and has money going into Rayquaza, its Unite move will literally one-shot a range character at any point during their fight. You just charge up your Unite, you can get your Sacred Sword buff first. Even without the Sacred Sword buff, you just charge up your Unite, eject on top of them, and you're one-shotting someone. Or you use it to secure Rayquaza. So good change, but it's not going to be enough to say that this Pokemon isn't going to be still really good. All right, Miraidon. I think these are good nerfs for Miraidon. I think this might be enough to finally say that Miraidon is like in a healthy-ish spot. I think the patch before this, Miraidon was definitely overtuned. It's still going to be a really strong Pokemon, but like, you have to give them some credit, right? Like, let's be realistic. Pokemon Unite is a Pokemon game. The box legendary from the most recent generation that's giga broken in VGC. It feels cringe to say it, but it deserves to be at least a little strong in our game. It would be a shame if Miraidon was just, it was just a wet noodle, right? The game wouldn't feel right in that kind of way. So I think this is a good change. I still think the Pokemon's going to be strong. I don't know if it's going to need any more nerfs after this, or rather if it's going to see any more nerfs after this, but it's still going to be a strong Pokemon. And the parabolic charge cooldown, this is important, right? This basically is what enables Electro Drift to go infinite. So there being a bigger downtime in this is just good. So I don't know. Overall, I'm a fan of this change for sure. Ho-Oh, Flame Vortex. Flame Vortex. Do they mean Fire Spin, or is that move actually called Flame Vortex this whole time? Have I been trolling? Wait, which one is Flame Vortex? The freak are these guys talking? It is Fire Spin, okay. Bro, whoever did these patch notes, you gotta play a little bit more Pokemon Unite, bud. Yeah, okay, so Fire Spin, yeah, Fire Spin did too much damage. The shield was too large. I mean, these are all very relevant changes. Sky Attack, yeah, I mean, I guess they just wanted to match the cooldowns on these two moves, which is fine because you pair them together. I think it's a healthy change. It's still going to be a really strong Pokemon. The cooldown got increased. Doesn't really, like, all this, the cooldown increase, the only thing it really changes is the team fight before Rayquaza. You can't take it as later into the game. Like, you're going to be forced to make sure that you take it earlier, or you have to go back and farm it. And the damage changes means that it's going to be weaker in its damage roll. The shield change means it's going to be weaker in all its rolls, but it's still going to be really strong. Like, this move was so overtuned that a 15% decrease isn't going to mean that it won't be playable. And then Sky Attack's effectiveness is the same. It just got another half second. Yeah, I don't know. This move is really, this Pokemon's really broken. I think it's going to need another nerf. Like, I don't think Miraidon will see another nerf. I think Ho-Oh might see another nerf, but we'll see. Okay, Pikachu. This was the one that was weird. Pikachu and then Ceruledge as well. These two Pokemon were the ones that were weird, that weren't nerfed in the last patch. It really made no sense. It really made no sense that they nerfed Delphox and then decided to buff all these attackers anyways, but then also left Pikachu as is. So it's good to see that they're actually addressing Pikachu in some kind of way. E-ball damage, thunder damage, I mean, it's good. It's good to bring down the damage a little bit. It's still going to be a really strong Pokemon. The Unite move, 8% damage decrease, obviously really important. The last big patch where Pikachu got the ult change, it went from being able to randomly hit one target after its first strike to being able to hit 2 targets, which meant that effectively throughout the course of a team fight, you were almost doubling the output of Pikachu's Unite move in terms of damage. So, you know, if you think of like the enemy team as like one health bar collectively, it's gonna be like, it was a huge buff. To see this decrease is pretty nice, but it's not gonna matter. This Pokemon's still gonna be really good. This Pokemon's still gonna be really good. Like, it's still gonna be good in all its movesets, which is fine. Like, I'm okay with Pikachu being good. These nerfs were necessary. Ceruledge, on the other hand, this is a more heavy-handed nerf. It got a big Bitter Blade nerf on its early game, right? Almost 20% in the early game. Healing increase, the healing effect got nerfed. The cooldowns increased. The Bitter Blade plus healing effect got nerfed as well. So, you know, this alone means that it's going to be harder for Ceruledge to snowball. The Psycho Cut change is almost certainly so people don't just go and play Psycho Cut right after they nerfed Bitter Blade. So they're just nerfing both in tandem, even though you wouldn't, like, Psycho Cut wasn't something you would play that often. And then Phantom Force, this move is still obviously Giga broken. The damage isn't the damage is a relevant part of what makes it really strong because it's true damage. So 15% decrease is relevant. Like, you definitely aren't going to be able to snowball as hard. The bigger nerf, in my opinion, is a 1 second cooldown, because this move has a component where you get cooldown reduction after you hit someone with it, right? So Phantom Force gets its cooldown reduced by 40% of its max cooldown when it hits an enemy. So being able to be as elusive on Ceruledge is going to be much harder with this nerf. Still, you're going to be able to get away with stupid situations. Pokemon, I think, will still be fine. I just don't think it's going to be like double S tier like it was before. I think this is a very reasonable nerf. Maybe you could ask for another one in the future, but I'm pretty happy with this. For you, those of you guys saying why wasn't Volt Tackle changed, I mean, I think the biggest mistake was giving Volt Tackle damage. I think moves that are single target and free lockdown are important for games, right? Even though they're cringe, they are a little bit important because they help keep like the really fast guys in check. The move shouldn't do damage. Like, it should literally do 1 damage. Like, if you want to go Pikachu to point and click someone else should, like, you should be giving up a significant portion of damage for it, right? You're not giving up enough damage when you go Volt Tackle, which is what makes it actually stupid, right? In other games, point and click CC moves like this literally do like 1 or 0 damage. That's where I would attack Volt Tackle. I think they should have never buffed the damage, let alone it shouldn't have even ever done a lot of damage. But I'm fine with it being point and click. I think the cooldown and damage should be addressed. Anyways, Armarouge. These are really big nerfs, but I think this Pokemon was so broken that these nerfs aren't gonna make it not viable anymore. So Flame, this is Fire Spin, 20% damage decrease, and shield amount 25%. These are like the biggest numbers we've seen in the entire patch, right? Like, we've seen some 15, a little one on Bitter Blade for sure, but the rest are like 5, 8, you know, 15, I guess, for here, but like 8, 10, you know, like on Espeon, it was like 8, on Glaceon, it was like 5. So 20 and 25% are huge nerfs, but this move and Armarouge itself, I think, is so broken that it's still going to be strong. And then Psyshock has a special defense reduction component. The last part of the tick did 50%, the final one, now it's going to do 35. It's still way too big for how much damage it does, and how much damage this Pokemon does. And this Pokemon also has special attack autos. I don't think there's many Pokemon or any Pokemon in the game that has built-in special defense reduction from a move that also does significant auto attack damage. Like, Mewtwo Y has it with its Unite move, but in its base kit, I don't think there is, right? Like, maybe I guess our Inteleon does it a little bit with Snipe Shot, but not on its actual autos, right? And that's kind of what makes this Pokemon insane, is that you're doing special attack auto, special attack damage from here, special attack damage from here, and your Unite move. So yeah, I don't know. This Pokemon's still going to be good, but these changes are also really positive. And then Mega Mewtwo X. Bro, I'm telling you guys, they nerfed this because of me. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Was anyone actually playing Side Strike on Mewtwo X? I swear I was the only one that was playing this thing. I was playing Side Strike Mewtwo X to get the damage reduction on Side Strike and playing it like a tank. Everyone that played Tank Mewtwo or Defender Mewtwo played Future Sight. I don't know. They must have been watching the streams. But yeah, whatever. I mean, no one's really playing this, so it is what it is. And they bug fix Blastoise. I don't know. Overall, I give the patch, I give it like an 8.6, I think. 8.6 out of 10. I do think it's a really good patch. It's not perfect. It's not a 10 out of 10. No such thing as a perfect patch. It's not a 9. It's not in the 9s. Because Mimikyu completely untouched, and the Pokemon is only going to be better now. And like, yes, they buffed Mewtwo Y and Blissey again, but I think all the other changes gave us some exciting gameplay that I'm gonna go with like an 8.6. I'll go with an 8.6. It would be a 9 immediately if there were Mimikyu nerfs, or if the Mewtwo Y Blissey changes just didn't exist, because everything else seems good. So glazing Darkrai. I mean, I think Darkrai it's a weird Pokemon. That's all I'm gonna say.